Hello everyone, welcome to my channel PhD Chats. You clicked on the link when you did not have to, and for that I am so grateful. If you are one of my subscribers, welcome back. We have a great conversation in store. And if you are new to PhD Chats, welcome. Thank you for coming. Please consider subscribing, liking, commenting, and sharing this video if you enjoyed it. Can we make it okay to talk about race, ethnicity, and identity without the conversation becoming confrontational or argumentative? It's okay. That's part of who we are. It's okay to have conversations about race without it being about racism. If several people were gathered together in the same room with different professions, everyone would be very comfortable talking about why being a dentist is different from being a teacher, which is different from being a firefighter, which is different from being an accountant or an artist. We would have no moment of discomfort just comparing the pros and cons and who feels seen and who doesn't feel seen and who works harder and who does not and which job is more lucrative and whose isn't. And we would welcome different perspectives without it being a disagreement or an argument. I think we need to feel comfortable doing the same thing around our identities. And so those conversations should be welcomed and embraced because they're fine, right? Once they're not rooted in hate and oppression and feelings of superiority, I think it's okay. And I think we should welcome it. And I'm stepping into a space where I'm feeling comfortable having those conversations. So in the midst of the World Cup that has absolutely brought those conversations to light, take a look at this video.
The country that's produced the most players at this World Cup is not Brazil, Argentina, or England. It's France, and it's not even close. Of the 1,248 players selected to represent their country at the 2026 World Cup, 98 of them were born in France. That's nearly 8% of the total players and almost enough to create 4 different 26-man World Cup squads. But only 23 of those 98 players represent France because only 26 can be on a squad. So where do those other 75 players represent? It's 11 different countries. And here's how it goes. 13 to Algeria, 12 to Haiti, 11 to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, 10 to Senegal, and then 8 Ivory Coast, 7 Tunisia, 6 Morocco, 3 Cape Verde Islands and Ghana, and 1 to Egypt and Spain. Not only were these 98 players born in France, but according to my research, every single one of the 98 players was raised in the French system and French academies. So that combination of France's amateur clubs, its academy network, and its diaspora have turned France into international soccer's biggest talent factory. So France didn't just send one team to the World Cup. They're a homegrown hotbed that had a hand in the squads of 11 other countries.
So as we look at the comments, we see that immediately people felt that bringing such factual, data-based statistics to the forefront about nationality, this content creator should have automatically had the conversation around ethnicity, right? And geography. I don't agree with that. He was very specific in addressing a very single data point, which is country of birth for the 98 players that he's mentioning. But since in the comments, everyone was curious about having those same statistics around ethnicity, I thought I would look it up, right? So here's what the data says. So the exact question I asked was, are there official World Cup statistics that tell us how much of the 98 World Cup players that were born in France are of African ancestry? And here's what AI said. The short answer is there is no official statistic for this because FIFA and the French Football Federation do not classify players by ethnicity or ancestry, only by nationality, place of birth, and eligibility. And really, so FIFA does not know. There's no data that tells us that how much of those 98 players are of African ancestry. So if I were to go and look at each of them and make a wise guesstimation, I would be the first person on the planet in an official capacity with that data? I don't think so. FIFA must know how much of those players have African parents and grandparents, right? So let's go on. It says, however, if you if you were asking specifically about the 99 or 98, depending on the data set, World Cup players born in France, we can make a reasonable, accurate estimate by looking at each player's documented family background. Okay, so they're going to use what data about ancestry is available. So here's what the available evidence suggests. So because everyone in the comments wanted to know, we're going to figure it out. We're going to put some numbers to this information. So of the 23 players representing France who were born in France, roughly 16 to 18 have at least one parent or grandparent of African origin, and they go ahead to list all of those. If you count players with African ancestry, the figure is likely in the range of 75 to 85 of the 99 French-born World Cup players are African, which is 76 to 86%. So this estimate includes players representing France as well as those representing African nations whose families emigrated to France. So all of the French-born World Cup players, 86% of them are African. So the observation that many people are making is substantially correct. Based on what is online, most of the French-born players at this World Cup are descendants of African immigrants or the African diaspora. After all of this information, all of the data, so 1,000 official World Cup players, 100 of them, I'm averaging, come from France. That's 10%, and of that, 80% are African. So what are we really discussing? Well, I'm wondering if the real conversation isn't about France or Africa. Maybe it's France and Africa. France has some of the world's best football academies, infrastructure, coaching, sports, science, and development systems, right? If that's true, then why aren't the players coming through those academies more ethnically representative of France as a whole? So that's one question. And on the other hand, obviously, if such a large percentage of France's elite football talent has African heritage, then why haven't African national teams consistently gone just as far or further in the World Cup? Why aren't they up there with the elite teams? So is it the training environment? Is it the infrastructure? Is it the investment? Is it opportunity? Is it dual nationality? Is it the legacy of migration? Or is it that greatness emerges when, which is what I think it is, exceptional talent and exceptional development come together? Maybe this isn't a story about one outperforming the other. It's not France, it's not Africa. Maybe it's about what happens when African talent meets French development and infrastructure. So what do you think it is, right? Everyone is commenting on how many of the teams, particularly the French team, demonstrate a majority African representation. So is it France, Africa, or a combination of both? I would genuinely like to hear your perspective in the comments. Thank you so much for getting this far in the video. This is the end. Like, subscribe, and share. Thank you, guys.